Now we will learn about functions in Python. The objectives are learning what functions are, defining and calling the functions, understanding the parameters and its return values, and finally practicing with some small functions. So, what is a function? A function in program that represent a block of code that performs some task, and that code block only executed when we call the function or when we call for execution. That means a block of code that represent a function in Python is not automatically executed until we call the function, and that helps to reuse the code. That means if you write one function, you can call the function multiple times to be executed. Okay, so here we will see how we can define and calling a function in Python. Here I wrote a sample program. Let's copy this one and go to our VS Code, and I have created one new program, functions.py. I will just paste here. So now we will see how this function is working in this program. Okay, so at the line number 1 I have written here def. So this is the keyword for creating or starting one new function, and after that I have given one space, and here is the name of the function. And after that I have written one parenthesis here, one parenthesis pair here, and here after that I have given one colon. So this is the simple syntax of creating Python function. First of all, we have to give the def space and the name of the function, and then one parenthesis, then the colon. And after that, in the line number 2 we can see one print statement, and this is inside this function, not in the same line, and this is called indentation in Python. Okay, so whenever you write new program or new statement here, if you see, it's automatically aligned to here, not here, because whatever lines of code we write in this block is actually under this greet function. Okay, so this is how we can define functions in Python. And here in the line number 5 and 6 we are calling the functions. First of all, let me cut it, and if we run this function, Python functions.py, so if we see, there is no output in the terminal because we just created this function, we did not call it. So to execute this block of code or of this print statement, we must have to call the function. So the calling method or calling system is just name of the function and one parenthesis. So if you see here, I just called the function from here. So when the program execution is come to the line number 5, it will just call the function and then it will execute this function, and after that whatever code written inside this function will be executed and it will print it to the terminal, because inside the function we just have one print statement and it's printing a hello, welcome to Python, right? So run this program again, we can see hello, welcome to Python, right? Okay, as I said, function is actually reusable. If we define the function one time, we can use multiple time and call it, right? So here if I call again and write this and run this program, we can see hello, welcome to Python, hello, welcome to Python. So it's printed twice because we called this function for 2 times, correct? Okay, so here if we put some other print statement like have a nice day, so for this call it will print this 2 print, and for this call again it will print this 2 statement, right? So let's see. So you can see this whole thing printed twice, correct? Okay, now let's call for one time and just run this program. It will work like this way. So whatever lines of code, whatever calculation, whatever program code you write here inside this greet function will only be executed when you are calling this function. Alright, so moving forward, the next step is function with parameters. Okay, so parameters are also called as arguments. So that arguments actually we pass to the function when we call the function, right? So here if I see here, this is the function. Okay, So if we see into our current function we written and tested sometimes ago in the VS Code. So here inside the VS Code we wrote this function, but it has no parameters. And how can we pass the parameter or argument here? Let's see. Say for example, while calling this greet function, you want to pass a name, dynamic name for greeting individual person with their name. Okay. So here is the place of taking the arguments or parameters. So here I took name. That means I am taking one parameter or one argument to this greet function. And when this function is having one parameter or argument, you must have to send this parameter from here. Otherwise, this program will not run. Let's see how it's happened. See, here one error came and here it's coming type error, greet missing one required positional argument name. So we must send the name from here. Say for example, from here, John. I'm sending the John, and if we run this program, we can see the same print statement, but we did not use this name inside the function yet. So when you are taking some parameters or arguments inside the function, then you can easily reuse this name variable inside the function anywhere. Okay. Say for example, hello, and I will put here. Okay. Hello name, welcome to Python. So this is how we actually printed earlier in the first or second class. We can give multiple comma here and puts here the variable, and here is the static string, and finally we are printing the name inside this print statement. Okay. So now if I run this program, we'll see hello John, welcome to Python, have a nice day. But here if I run again this program, greet, so this second name is Jen, first name is John. So if you see, we are greeting two persons with just calling this function by sending the name using the parameter. So we don't need to write this code again and again for greeting every person. So once we define the function using this parameter, we can greet hundred or thousands of people using the same function. So this is the concept of reusing functions in Python. Okay. So let's save this program and run again. We can see hello John and here hello Jen. Okay. So we are greeting now two person with same function by using just one parameter, right? Okay. So now how we can take multiple parameters? Let's see our document. Okay. So we can take multiple parameters here. If we want to take one more parameter, say for example name, age. This name we can also use here, comma. You are age years old. So here we added multiple commas for defining the variables here. So hello name, welcome to Python, you are age years old, have a nice day. Let's run this program. It will going to throw an error because it's expecting two parameters, but we are sending just one. So here also we have to give the parameters, say for example 25 for John and comma 30 for Jen. That means in this greet function for John we are sending the age of 25 and for Jen we are sending the age of 30. So like this we can take multiple parameters, whatever we want to send dynamically while calling one function, right? So let's run this program again to see it in action. So hello John, welcome to Python, you are 25 years old. Hello Jen, welcome to Python, you are 30 years old. So this is how the parameters works, right? Okay, moving forward, the next step is function with return values. So far we saw function with parameter. Now we will return some values from the function after calculating or executing the block inside the function. Here we can see one sample program. We'll just copy this and paste into our program. So here we can see def. This is the definition of function and the name of the function is add, and in the parameter we are taking two parameters, one is a and another is b. And here if we see, we are calling this function from here and we are sending 5 for a and 7 for v. So it's actually returning the result of the sum of the two numbers, and the return statement is just return and the calculation. Here we can do something like this: sum equal a plus b. So in the sum variable, here we defined one sum variable, and inside the sum variable we are calculating the summation of a and b using the additional operator, and finally we can return the result using the return statement. So once the return statement is declared in a function, then at that place the function return the calculated value, right? So here it's returning the sum. But now while we are sending the parameters and calling the function, now when we are calling the functions with sending the parameters and it's returning one value like the sum of the two numbers, so where we can catch the value or where we can actually get the value, it's basically returns where we call the function. So here we are calling the functions from here, and this value, this return value, will be returned here, and that value we are putting into one variable that is called result. So result equal add of 5 and 7. So this function is returning the result of sum of a and b and returning the sum, and finally it's actually stored here, and then we are storing the sum value inside the result variable, and finally we are printing the result. So here if we run this program, we can see sum is 12. Here if we change the value, okay, now we run the program again, it will give us the summation value of these two numbers. So this is how the return values works in Python function. The next section is the default parameters in Python. Let's copy this sample program and put into the program file. And here we can see again the greet function, and here we can see one parameter name, and we are calling this function from here, and here we are printing hello name. Okay, so here is the default parameter. If you call this function without giving this name parameter, now it's going to accept this result. Now if you call this function without giving the name parameter while calling this function, it also going to work, because when this name parameters is missing from where calling the function, then it's going to take this default value. Okay, so this is called default parameter value in Python function. So here if you see at the line number 5, we are calling this function without giving any name parameter. Okay, because here we can see one parameter is expecting, but we are not giving this parameter, and in that time it will by default take this friend, and when you send some name, then it's not going to take this, it will directly take this one. Let's see. Okay, so first one is printed hello friend, and second one is hello allies, right? Okay, next here is some sample practice program, like the similar like we added two numbers in the function. So this is just multiplication of two numbers. Like we can do whatever we want in the function parameter, whatever calculation we can do. In real life program, we have to solve many kinds of real problems inside the function, and where it will give, and finally it will give us it will return the expected output. All right. Okay, so let's run this program. It will just multiply the number, it will square the number and give the result. So it will come 16, 4 into 4, 16. So this is how actually works the Python function with parameters and return values. All right, here is some homeworks for you. Write a function that takes a number and returns whether it's even or odd. Okay, so you have to determine that you are sending one number to one function, and you have to determine if it is an even number or odd number, and finally return the result. Okay, and then print in the terminal. Then the second homework is write a function that takes 3 numbers and return the largest. That means you are asked that you have to write one function that will expect or that will take 3 parameters of number, and then finally it will return which is the greatest or largest number inside among the 3 numbers. All right, thank you.